Crystal Oculee, the Chief Financial Strategist of Confidence Wealth, and every week I try to bring a topic to you that's talked about and it's important and just things everyone's discussing at meetings. So one of the things that everyone's been asking about is the changes with Secure Act 2.0. I know I've been talking about this. I know you already got a couple of videos about, the Roth and what happened with Roth, RMDs and all that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you and go over some of the points that I think a lot of you may be talking about and maybe you missed in some of my videos and some of it maybe we were not talking about. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk a little bit about all the updates that has occurred. So give me a moment. Okay, so let's start with later age for RMD, required minimum distribution. So as you are aware, when you used to reach 70 and a half and then it was 72, you had to take required minimum distribution, which was a certain amount from your 401k. It's the calculation that's done. If you're interested in the calculation, please message me here and I'll be happy to send it to you. And it really focused on, you taking money off of any of your qualified plans. So what basically the new Secure Act 2.0 raised that age to 73, beginning of 2023 of this year. And at 2033, it will be 75. So if you haven't turned, obviously, 73 by then, that's when in 2033, it will be moved up to 75. And again, why are they doing that? People are living longer. It makes sense. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the penalty. This was interesting because usually they like to raise penalties. So this is something that actually was reduced. So normally when you used to take required minimum distribution and you forgot to take it on time, there would be a penalty. So if you were supposed to take 10,000 out, there would be a penalty of 5,000 plus obviously all the taxes you had to pay. Now, the penalty is 25%. So now if you were supposed to take 10,000 out and you missed it, you would pay 2,500 as a penalty, plus obviously all the taxes that are due. I'm not saying any penalty is good, but that's a little bit better than 50%. Now let's go look at some of the other things that you may have thought about or heard about and how it affects you. So let me scroll down to that page. So one other positive change was that originally, if you had a Roth 401k, you still had to take a required minimum distribution out, even though it's tax-free, even though it's in Roth, but it just starts depleting your, tax-free assets if you didn't need to. Roth IRA, you didn't have to. So if you had a Roth 401k and you were working, you would have had to roll it out to an IRA, and hopefully that was allowed if you had, not stopped working, and most companies allow that, but most of the time, sometimes people, if they had their 401k and they wanted to wait till they stopped working, if they were in a situation that they couldn't take it out, they had to take an RMD out from those Roth 401ks, unless there was a rule in place for it that they didn't have to, but most of the time they did. Now they don't have to. So if they have a Roth 401k or if you have a Roth IRA, you do not have to take required minimum distribution, which is great. Now let's go to the next thing. So another thing that was an additional that they added, the amount currently eligible for qualified charitable distribution from an IRA, 100,000, which was obviously indexed also for inflation. In addition to that, beginning of this year, in 2023, investors will be able to make a one-time charitable distribution of up to 50,000 from an IRA to a charitable remainder annuity trust, charitable remainder unit trust, or charitable gift annuity. So that was just an additional that you're able to do to what was already in place. Now, one of my favorites is the higher catch-up contribution. So one of the things that also starting in 2025, people ages of 60 to 63 will be able to contribute an additional minimum of 10,000 for 401k or similar plans, or at least 5,000 extra to a simple IRA each year while they're working, obviously, in the work-based retirement plans. That's awesome. And moreover, beginning in 2024, all catch-up contribution for those making more than $145,000 will be after-tax Roth contributions. So it's important to keep these in mind, especially if you're doing extra contributions as the years go by to keep up with maybe making up for the past. So that is positive news. And here's one of my other favorites. That finally there is Roth-Matching Contribution from your company. So usually the new law before the law did not permit that. So if you were contributing to your Roth 401k and your employer had a 6% contribution, it would go to your pre-tax dollars on your 401k. Now it does not have to. It can actually go to your Roth, which is awesome. And that is going to go in effect soon. And actually, I think it's already in effect, I should say, soon. So this is fantastic. So this is something that for those of you who were trying to build that 401k Roth, now you're going to build it up even quicker because your contribution can go there and their match of your employer can go there as well. One thing, of course, to keep in mind, please, is that even though everything goes into effect immediately, doesn't mean all employers have that in place. So give them a little bit of time, talk to your human resources if they're working on it. So it doesn't mean that you immediately will see it, because anytime a law goes into place, it takes employers some time to actually go ahead and build a spot for it. Now, let's go to another thing that could apply to you. Again, mind you, I'm going to scroll down and look at some of the things that I think most of my clients have been talking about and most of you will benefit from. So I'm not going through every detail. I'm going through the things that I know would be important to you. So this is something that's fantastic because it's something that I have seen a lot of parents and grandparents worry about, that what if I had money in the 529 plan and it didn't finish and I don't want to give it to anybody else. I roll it over to anyone else in my family because they're not going to college. What's awesome is now people will be able to directly roll over up to $35,000 from their 529 plan accounts to a Roth IRA for that same beneficiary, obviously provided that the 529 accounts have been held for 15 years. So example, you started a 529 plan for your child or grandchild when they were 5 years old, and now they are 20 or 24 and they have, or 22 or whatever age that they finished school with, and have not used everything up and there's still 10,000 left or up to 35,000 left. Well, now instead of worrying what's going to happen to that, you can roll that over into a Roth for them. Imagine how fantastic that would be. A 22-year-old or a 24-year-old now has a $35,000 Roth that came from their 529 plan that they didn't use, and they can just grow that, and that can be tax-free for them. So I thought that was super exciting, and I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you. So obviously there is so much more that we can talk about as well. But as I said, I wanted to go over some of the highlights that I thought a lot of you may actually find beneficial in your situation, because just like my clients, I'm sure if you're listening to this and if you are a client and you're like, Crystal, I knew about this, but I didn't know about that. Now you know about it. And I know a lot of the conversations that's always revolving around how much more I can contribute, required minimum distribution, penalties, 529 plans. I wanted to bring those highlights to you. If there's anything else that you want to discuss or a topic that's important to you, don't hesitate to reach out. If you are friends and family of a client or new to the CWM community and you're watching this and you're like, oh, I'd really love to hear updates, go ahead and register and ask us that, hey, I want to be part of your program. I want to make sure I get any updates, and we'll be happy to do that. And please message me if there are topics you want to talk about. Until next week, have a great one.